Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today, I have another special guest. This is actress Karolyn Grimes, who you might remember from two of the most iconic Christmas movies, classic Christmas movies, It's a Wonderful Life and The Bishop's Wife. In It's a Wonderful Life, she played Jimmy Stewart and Donna Reed's daughter, Zuzu. And in The Bishop's Wife, she played the daughter of David Niven and Loretta Young, who were visited by the angel Dudley, played by Cary Grant. So she has wonderful stories of her early years in Hollywood. So please welcome Karolyn Grimes. Welcome and thank you. And
thank you.
Yeah, I had a lovely opportunity to just, dig a little bit into the amazing history that you have, and some of the incredible people you had the opportunity to work with. So you've had quite a career, and from so young. So how did you happen to start so young?
Well, I was an only child, and my mother was a stage mom. And so being an only child, she had all the time in the world to take me everywhere, all places, to learn every lesson I could. Dancing, singing, elocution, everything, dialect, I had them all. Violin, piano, I did everything. And it turned out okay. So she took me to see an agent when I was 4. And that agent was Lola Moore. She handles most of the young kids during that time. She handled them, pretty much most all of the children actors. And so she was a very popular agent, and she liked me. And she sent me on a couple interviews. I got a part when I was 4 years old, and that's when it started. So I worked there after, I did about 2 a year.
Wow. Were you ever under studio contract?
No. Mm-mm.
That wasn't mandatory then you could just sort of freelance. And it seems like you did work for a number of different studios.
You were called a bit player.
Hardly. You had some pretty prominent roles.
Well, that was just luck.
And talent, clearly. I think that there's I started very young, and I think there's a lot of good natural instincts that make one child actor more successful than another. So clearly, either the combination of lessons, but you had to have had some good natural instincts of what you were doing and how to be believable and portray what the scene was about, the emotion of the scene.
You're the only child and your mother. You learn a lot just being the center of attention. There's nothing to take her attention away from me. So, her attention was totally on me, and she sort of created me, and I had all the self-confidence in the world. And being in front of the cameras gave me more self-confidence, and it's a real treasure that I've had all my life. I have no fear in getting in front of audiences or anything like that.
Oh, that's great. Yeah.
I enjoy doing things like that, actually.
Well, that's good that it was something that you enjoyed, since she was, guiding you, pushing you, whatever, encouraging you in that direction, that it was something that you also enjoyed doing.
Well, I really didn't know any different.
Well, you might have hated it, though.
Well, that's true. I could have. But I liked it. Good. It was fun. Good. Every day, the history of the industry. Every day you walked into a different set, and my gosh, it would be a whole different atmosphere, whether it was snow, whether it was desert, whatever, or you're in Utah and on a ranch. It was always different every time you went to do a movie. It was all different. It was fun.
So you did get to do some actual location work, not just everything being created at the studio.
Oh, absolutely, yes. I even went to the studio ranches and did filming up in the mountains around Los Angeles. The limo would come and pick us up like at 5 a.m, and we'd trek up there in the mountains. And we'd do our thing, and then we'd get in that limo and we'd come back home. But that was the life. I really didn't know any different.
So, and you went to school then on the set as as we did on the Waltons. Yeah. Well, we
usually had a one-room dressing room that they used as a schoolroom.
And sometimes there were other children on the shoots, and sometimes there weren't.
Yeah. Right. Mm-hmm. Most of the time, there were other children.
That makes it more fun in some ways. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It does.
Yeah. All right. So we have to talk about It's a Wonderful Life because everybody knows it, everybody loves it, and you were, able to be a pretty significant part of that. So tell me about that experience, what you remember about it, what stood out, and the people you got to work with.
Well, it was a wonderful experience, actually. Most of my jobs were wonderful. I really had a great time. But It's a Wonderful Life was really special because it had snow. And I'd never seen snow before. Being born and raised in LA, you don't see snow. So it wasn't real snow, but to me it was snow. And it was fabulous. I loved it. I was so excited. And it was just the best experience because I walked in and saw this snow, and that just started it off really well. And then, of course, Mr. Stewart was so wonderful to work with. And we had some really close one-on-one work a lot. So that was kind of a fun thing. Very patient, kind, and very generous, gentle. He was a wonderful actor to work with.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are good, some of them aren't so much. And he was just great. He was really good. However, Cary Grant was my favorite.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And that, of course, was on The Bishop's Wife. Those are definitely two of my all-time favorite Christmas movies. The Bishop's
really
Wife
good.
And It's a Wonderful Life. Yeah, standouts. And
they all have such
both.
Wonderful messages.
They do. Yeah.
Touch your heart.
I recently listened to now it's not an autobiography, so I take anything that isn't actually written by the person with a grain of salt, but I read a biography of Cary Grant, and there were mixed things that people said about him and, how he might be, but it did say that he was always wonderful with children.
He loved children. He did. And he'd tell us stories. And there were a couple of kids that were in the movie too, as bit players, but just extras. Mm-hmm. And so we, listened to his stories, and it was really great. But every day at noon, he would come and get me. And there was really an ice skating rink on the stage. And he would take me, and we'd go to the ice skating rink. And he would put me in a sled, and he'd put on his ice skates, and he would practice his ice skating by pulling me around in a sled on the ice. Oh, I just had the best time. That was what we did during the lunch hour. He didn't have to do that. He was a big star, but he did. He took the time to do that. He took his time to read stories to me, and he just told me stories. He just was a great guy who liked kids, and that made the whole experience so much better. Really did. It was great.
And of course, David Niven and Loretta Young, do you have memories of them and how they were to work with?
I was told from the get-go to stay away from David Niven, that he did not like children. I don't know if that's true. Later I read that he had just lost his son or something, and he was in mourning or something. I don't know if that's true or not. I never really researched it, but I was told to stay away from him. So I did. And Loretta Young was very nice. She was very friendly. And she didn't really spend time with me. I think the women were challenged back then because the men were the star marquees. They were out there. Women were not so much. They were the second, always the second. And so they really had to be sharp. And I think that she studied her script pretty much 24/7. I think that's because she had to, because that's what it took to be good in front of everybody's eyes, because there was a stigma on women actresses, I think, to a certain extent.
That's a shame. I mean, we still, there's battles that, we have to fight as women, especially as we get older.
We still do.
Especially as we age in the industry, men can be leading men their entire
career. They're 105.
Exactly. And they've still got the 25-year-old leading lady.
Yes. It goes that way when they marry him, too.
You had snow in that one, too. Was that all fake snow as well in The Bishop's Wife?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So when did you get to see real snow?
I was in my teens when I got to see real snow. My father and some of his friends drove me up into the mountains one day, and I saw snow. That was kind of fun. I've seen a lot of snow since.
Well, you were supposed to make snowballs and stuff. So what did they do with that? Did they then have sections of like? Well,
they just had, it was false. It was all fake. It wasn't real ice or real snow.
Oh, so even what you were throwing was just some compound of fake thing.
Right. Okay. Oh, they couldn't work with things that melted, You couldn't do that. So it's all fake.
Yeah, we worked with a mix on our show. When they had to put it on the back lot of the studio, it was fake because we were at Warner Brothers and it was summer, and even winter, you wouldn't have real snow in Burbank, California. But we would sometimes go up to local mountains, and there might be some actual still snow when we went on location. So there were some times where we dealt with that. And the first time I really worked in the snow was on a location shoot. We went up to Wyoming for a week at the end of our pilot, The Homecoming. We've spent a week shooting there, so we were in the real snow, and that was pretty exciting.
Yeah,
it was freezing, but
well, I've seen a lot of snow since then, so it made up for my days when I didn't see snow. Now I don't think it'd be winter without snow. I wouldn't feel right that it was.
Yeah. So do you have snow around where you are in the wintertime?
Yeah. Northern California.
Okay.
Mount Shasta.
Oh, okay.
It's a lot of snow.
Yeah, there's a lot of snow. Definitely. Well, we have, despite the fact that we don't have a direct Walton connection, you did, I was seeing, of course, in It's a Wonderful Life, Beulah Bondi, who was Jimmy Stewart's mother, did 2 episodes of our show and actually won an Emmy for one of her guest appearances. And it was one of the last, I think it was the last thing she did, the last acting work she did before she passed away. And she won an Emmy for that. And so we always have a lot of people comment on those episodes because of what a legend, she was.
She was indeed.
And what an honor to work with her.
Jimmy Stewart got to work with her in a number of movies as well. She played his mother quite a bit.
Ah, there you go. And then Ellen Corby, who played our grandmother on the Waltons, had just a little cameo in there as well.
$17.
Yeah. I saw a piece of trivia saying that Frank Capra, who directed it, that he told her to
throw him off.
Yeah, give him a different, not a round number, and that kiss was, and what a beautiful spontaneous moment that was.
It was totally spontaneous because it just happened.
Mm-hmm. And were there a number of moments that you were aware of within the filming where those types of delightful little impromptu spontaneous moments happened?
They kind of happened all the time because Capra was not a stickler to the script. Some directors wanted you to say it verbatim, but Capra wasn't that way. Sometimes he let you put your own spin on the line. And I think that kind of helped it be more natural and more creative by letting you do that. I think that was part of his artistry. He gave a little bit of free rein there. And so a lot of times things came out that weren't in the script, or maybe it wasn't exactly like the script had written it, was written in the script. It was always like that with him. He was very, very generous.
Mm. Do you remember anything specific about something that you did or said in a scene that was maybe spontaneous on your part, or a little bit of a mistake that ended up being a happy mistake, or something that was kept?
Well, in this pedal scene, I'm laying there with my rose and blah, blah, blah. And at the end of the scene, he said, "Now I want you to lay down and go to sleep." And I start whispering my lines.
Now, will you do something for me? Will you try and get some sleep? I'm not sleepy. I want to look at my flower. I know.
And, that was totally spontaneous. Capra didn't tell me to do that, but he liked it. So he left it in there. I have no idea why I did that. I want to give my flower a drink. I don't know. It was crazy.
That's sweet. Yeah. Well, that's wonderful. Well, what a treat for you to get to work with someone like Capra, and who's such a legend as a director, and the fabulous films that he created that are, live on as classics now, and
oh yeah,
define, certainly a form of comedy that he was really associated with some of his films, and and that he brought so much humor to It's a Wonderful Life, which isn't, I would say, something you'd classify as a movie as a comedy.
No, it was not a comedy.
So much humor and heart in it.
Mm-hmm. And when it came out, the people really weren't ready for that kind of a film. Mm. And their mindset was more on the end of the war and soldiers coming back and their experiences and their period of adjustment into civilization again, back in their hometowns and wherever they went, just to be out of the war. And they were pretty damaged, I would guess, the majority of them. So it was a difficult time for a movie to come out that was about war, because they didn't want to sit and watch that. And it was marketed incorrectly. It was marketed as a comedy, a romantic comedy. It wasn't a comedy at all. So there was a lot of things that went against it when it came out, and it was a big box office failure. And Capra lost his studios. It was awful. Sat on the shelf for 20-some years, and then they didn't renew the copyright. And bingo, it became public domain. So then everybody, little small stations across the United States television, put it on the screen, and they saw it on every channel. And every Christmas, it was on everywhere. And that's how the movie got exposed. And that's when it first started, in the early 70s. And so since then, the people that watched it with their children during that particular time, their kids grew up, and they sat down with their kids. Now, I'm old enough to have seen this happen, and it keeps on through generation and generation and generation. So, it's just part of the Christmas celebration now.
Wow. That's amazing. I did not know that story about it. That it had not been initially embraced.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah.
And the only award it won, it was nominated for everything, but it only won an award for the special making of the snow.
Wow.
That was it. And Capra created that snow. So that was his personal little award, but it didn't win anything else.
Wow. And did he, I don't know enough about his history to know, did he live long enough to see it?
Oh, yes,
begin
yes,
to,
yes, yes. Oh,
good,
yeah.
Good.
In the 80s, he was going around to colleges, different places, and speaking and talking about the making of the movie. He enjoyed it. I mean, he really got to be a part of it. He knew what it had become.
Good. And were you able to, did you retain relationships with any of the people?
No, I had the opportunity to see him, and I didn't take it. Sometimes when you're raising 7 kids and you're kind of busy, you don't always jump at everything that comes your way. And at that point in my life, I did not even ever seen the movie. I didn't realize all the hoopla about it. So I didn't take that opportunity. I should have.
You raised 7 children.
Yeah, more or less.
That is no small feat.
No, it's a full-time job.
Yeah. Am I correct that The Bishop's Wife was also a film that wasn't initially embraced as a
Right.
hit? Or?
It really wasn't, but nothing that I know of happened that was just magic. It's just gradually grown as a Christmas movie and become what it is today. But nothing spectacularly happened necessarily. Just people watched it, and and there's many people that haven't seen it yet that don't know about it.
Yeah,
Once you see it, you're hooked.
Yeah, always recommending it to people, and they're like, "What? Oh, I don't know that one." It's like, you have to see it. My husband quotes the lines all the time. He'll do that. Am I an excellent husband? You're an excellent wife. All those little things that become part of our culture. So it's,
I have people that tell me in their everyday lives, the whole family uses a lot of the dialogue from the film and the lines from the film in their daily life, which I just find amazing, wonderful, but amazing.
And do you use any of it? From any of the films?
Really. Yeah. Not really.
You don't find yourself saying, well, a bell rang, an angel got his wings.
Well, I have said that a time or two, but it isn't like the way people describe to me, just out of the thin air, they'll pull a line out and say it from the movie if it applies to something that's going on in their lives. I don't really do that. We never did.
Yeah.
Of course, I never saw the movie till I was 40.
Ah, wow. You didn't get to see a screening when it was
pretty
done?
Well grown. I went to the screening, but I was 6 and I fell asleep. Yeah.
I want to thank Karolyn for joining me for this segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. Please join me next time for more Behind the Scenes of the Waltons, more Ask Judy, and maybe even some more special guests. Thanks for watching.